Welcome to the Unit 2 Scratch Software Development Kit video. You can use this video to go through Unit 2, or if you're doing one of our other learning modules or learning units, you're more than welcome to use this to help you figure out how to use the Scratch software. In this video, we are going to cover the following learning objectives. We're going to go through and figure out what is a sprite and a stage inside Scratch. We're going to look at the layout of the offline Scratch software development kit versus the online Scratch editor, which they're very similar to each other. We're going to go through the features of the menu and the toolbars. We're also going to go through the 6 types of the Scratch code blocks. We are going to look at the 10 different categories of Scratch code blocks. We're going to look at how to place sprites and objects in Scratch. And then we're going to look at the pixels and their dimensions within Scratch graphics. This video will be covering section 2.1 of the Scratchzilla learning material, which will be sprites versus the stage and the Scratch layouts. The section 2.2, that will be put in another video. We're breaking it apart just so the videos don't get too long. Okay, first thing first, sprites and the stage. A sprite is a controllable object that you can program. And another name for a sprite will be an object. And just so you know, if you ever hear the word sprite in the future, a lot of times in the video game world, they refer to sprites as objects that you cannot interact with. In our case, sprites, you can interact with them, and we're going to be using the terms objects and sprites interchangeably with one another. A couple things to know about sprites is that you can make them motionless, which means they can just sit there and do nothing. You can make them move. You can do anything to the sprites that you want to do as far as, manipulating them in a two-dimensional environment, within reason, of course. Okay, your programs do not require to have sprites within them. So if you want to create a Scratch program and have no sprites, you will be able to do that. Next, we have the stage. The stage is used as the background in our program. The stage, that will be primarily just placed in the back, and you can put images on there or you can put nothing. One of the things that I will use the stage for is to place functions that will instantiate a large variety of different variables that we might use throughout the program, also known as global variables. You'll hear that term quite a bit. We use the stage maybe just to host particular functions to set other things up. If I have music that's going to play in the background on a continuous loop, I like to put it there. A lot of times you can put things in the stage so that way it's not replicated throughout your program, which will help you save some memory in the long run. Let's see, major bullet points. The stage can be programmed to change its appearance and to do other things. You always have to have a stage. No matter what you do, you always will have to have a stage. You always have to have a backdrop for the stage. It doesn't have to have anything in it, but there will have to be a backdrop for the stage. So you can't go through and delete those. If you want a blank background, I would just put a giant blank white rectangle in the background, and that could host your background image. Let's see, and the stage, it cannot move or change its shape. It's always going to be a rectangle, and it's always going to be located in the same spot within the program. Let's switch over to the Scratch Software Development Kit. If you don't have this on your computer, no big deal. What we have here is your Scratch software, and briefly I'm just going to show you where the sprites and the stage are located. This item right here is the actual controllable sprite that you'll be programming. It's represented by the sprite icon down below. Then over here on the left hand side, that will be your stage. Now up here in this scene, or in this screen view, that white rectangle is actually the stage. If I go through and change those things, you can see what it would look like in the background. Alright, so let me quickly I'm just going to put a blank blue sky right here. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. Okay, so see how the blue background's right there, and then the sprite sits on top of it. Next, we're going to move into the offline editor layout. This will be quite a bit of information for you, but I think you'll be able to handle it. And just remember, all this stuff takes time to learn in its location within Scratch. If you forget where anything is, you can always come back to this video or back to your reading material, or just kind of click around until you figure out what it is that you were looking for. So, main thing is at the menu bar, You've seen this multiple times in other software programs. The menu bar is going to be right at the top. You can see it right here in this graphic. The stage area, this is going to be this location right here that you saw a second ago with the Scratch one. I had the little blue background and the cat. Next we have the sprite coordinates right here on this bullet point. The sprite coordinates will be located right over here underneath the image of the sprite whenever you're coding over here. Next we have the toolbar. The toolbar are going to be these icons right over here that each do something different over here. We can cut, copy, paste, we can expand and shrink, and then the little question mark circle that allows you to go and research some help tips on particular tools. Next we have the sprite, and your sprite can be located right here as the actual object that's going to be manipulated. Down here is the sprite list where it contains an icon for the sprite. And those will be the major locations where you will locate the sprite. The script area is going to be all of this area over here where we program. I briefly switched over to Scratch so you can see the actual software while I work with it, and you can notice how the here's the menu bar with all of our different features. There's the tips showing up. We don't need tips. Then here are your toolbar items. You can see how they do different items. If I want to grow sprite, which I don't really recommend doing this, and you'll see why here in a little bit. You can also shrink it. If you want to click on the stamp tool, this is like copying it. It allows you to duplicate it. You notice how we have an identical sprite show up down here. Then we can cut and do some other things. Over here is your stage. Like I said, the sprite list. Here's your block list, all the different blocks that are available to you. Here are your block categories, and you can see as you click on each one, there's different blocks that are available to you. Now notice on data, nothing shows up. And then when you click on more blocks, nothing shows up over here either. You actually have to make these blocks, which is not too difficult because all you have to do is just come over here, say the data, then click on make a variable or make a list, and then the blocks will become available to you. We'll go into a lot of detail with data. We won't work too much with more blocks for a while because it's very specific on why you would make them more, or you make your own customized block. Next we have the block categories. The block categories will be here in the script area. Icons right here with the names of the categories that you'll be able to access the different blocks that perform different functions for Scratch. Then we have our block list. The block list will be all the items. You get the idea. This is where we would actually. Our sprite list will be all of the sprite icons. Next here. Then we have the full screen button over here, in case you lost my mouse. Then, very important, is our green flag and our stop symbol, because the green flag is what begins to execute the program. This is what runs it. Then the stop allows you to stop the program from running whenever you want to terminate the program. Next, over here is the full screen button. You click on the full screen button and it'll make it full screen. There's your sprite cat in your face, up close and personal. And to close it, you notice we just clicked on the same icon. It looks a little bit different. You'll see how these little handles there change, where they're pointing inwards towards the rectangle, and here they're pointing outwards. That just lets you know what's going on. If you look real close right here, you'll notice this is the version number of Scratch that you have up to date on your scene, or I mean on your program. And here's something I should note. I talk about later, but I'll go ahead and bring it up while we're at it. You notice first off, I have two sprites right here. They're sitting on top of each other. I'm gonna go ahead and delete one, so we just work with one here. So we have our sprite right there, and then over here we said those were its XY coordinates. It's at -14, 24. Over here you see X and Y coordinates. These XY coordinates are for your mouse. Wherever your mouse moves, that's the XY coordinates for your mouse. Even if I move off screen, it's still showing up over here. Or excuse me, the numbers are still adjusting based upon where I move it. If it's outside of the range of the XY values, it won't move anymore. That's actually an improvement in Scratch. In the past, it used to give you the XY coordinates no matter where your mouse was. But in this case, it just keeps track of the coordinates of your mouse in relationship to the stage area here. And over here we have the green flag and the stop sign. Just quickly show you how this works. I'm just going to throw some code out here. We'll put that in there. What we're going to do is just make the sprite turn in a circle. So I click on the green flag, the sprite will turn around briefly. And let's say I put in 10,000. So when I click on the green flag, it starts spinning around. If I click on the stop sign, that will stop it from moving. Over here on our menu bar, there's some different items. This allows you to create a new program. You can open up an old program or a previously saved program. You can save your program, save as. You've seen these things probably before. Record a project video. This allows you to actually work on your project and record a video of your operating. This is a pretty cool feature they put in Scratch. You can share it to the Scratch website, which we'll talk about here later on. Check for updates. Just make sure you got the most up-to-date version. They have regularly updated this Scratch 2 quite a bit, so every time you update, you never know what new features will be added there. And then this tool right here allows you to quit Scratch. Then the edit features, undelete. Watch out for this one. It seems like it's going to help you when you have a error and you've deleted some code and you want to go back and get it back on your screen. This only allows you to undelete to one step. So for example, if I have this code right here and I delete this one, then this piece of code, and I go to undelete, it only goes to the previous one. Then I come back and it's not there anymore. Next we have small stage layout. You click on that, it's going to switch so you have a little stage and a large area to view your code. You'll see this quite a bit once we get further along. You can also get there by clicking on this little arrow right here. This allows you to go to the small stage layout. Also, let's see, turbo mode. This makes your program run at an accelerated rate. We won't use this too much, but if you have a program that's pretty complex, especially if you're trying to render 3D type graphics like some old Castle Wolfenstein and 3D type game, you might want to switch over to turbo mode. Tips, this takes you to these little training units that Scratch software is provided for you from MIT, which is the creators of Scratch. And then the About button will take you to the Scratch website, which will just give you information about Scratch. While we're on the Scratch website, we should also note that you can actually program from the Scratch website with its online editor software. It's pretty cool. If you come up to the icon over here, it says Scratch, and click on that, and it will bring you to another page that will give you a list of different projects and categories and different community groups that you can get involved with. Then over here on this little link, there's a button that says Create. If you click on Create, it's going to take you to the online editor. And the online editor will run out of your browser window. I've ran it out of Firefox, Edge, and Chrome successfully with no issues. I can't really say one is better than the other. Most people prefer Chrome. I have Edge up just to prove a point that you can do it inside Microsoft Edge. Now, one thing you should note on your drop-down list is whenever you click on your menu over here for File, you don't have as many features for the online editor as you do the offline editor, and that just has something to do with you being on the website. For example, right here, you can create a new project, or you can upload a project from your computer, and if you finish this project, you can only download it to your computer unless you create an account with Scratch, and then it's going to give you a whole new set of menu items. Now I just paused the movie so I can go ahead and log into Scratch, and you can see my username RYPatton over here in the upper right hand side. And then if I come to the file menu for the online editor and click on that, you'll notice I have a brand new set of menu items here. One difference is you can save it now, which as opposed to save and save it as a copy. What that's going to do is take the project that you're working on and save a copy of it in addition to the original file you started working with. It's a good way to back up files, especially if you're going to make a lot of adjustments and you don't want to lose some features that you're messing with. Next, go to My Stuff. If you go to that, it's going to allow you to go to your account where you have a lot of different projects hosted. And then again, you can upload from your computer Scratch projects that you made with the offline editor, and you can also download to your computer so you can manipulate those with your offline editor. And you can also record and export video. And that's going to wrap it up for the first video for Unit 2, Section 2.1. Be sure to watch the next video for Section 2.2.